This episode of Pucks Across Borders brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. What's your sport? Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, maybe even wrestling, whatever it is, you can get it at firstroundcollectibles.com. Right now, with the promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. Like I said, hockey, football, baseball, basketball, wrestling, you can get it 10% off with the promo code Sports Addict at First Round Collectibles. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never.
And welcome, Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports. Good to be here. We've been joking, busting his chops, if you will. Uncle John, he's visiting with the new niece. So it's just Andre and I today, bro. How are you doing?
Doing well. Missing the Unk, but
Yep.
he'll be back.
Yep.
He's got to familiarize himself.
That's right. I wonder if John's good with kids. I don't know. Is he like super careful, or he already has one, so maybe he's seasoned vet by now. I know when my son was born, I was scared I was gonna drop him on his head every time I picked him up. But what's that? Sorry?
They're so small. It's uncomfortable.
They're very small. Yeah, they are very small. People say it's like holding a football, but I'm way more confident in holding a football than than a human being. But like I said, everybody, welcome to Pucks Across Borders. Good to be here. Thanks to Total Apex Sports for having us on. As always, crazy night in the NHL last night. Of course, we'll get into all three games on the ice tonight. Plus, bro, sweep for us last night in our best bets. A nice little 800 plus parlay. Not bad for the boys. But let's dive into last night. What's your takeaway from last night? There's a lot to choose from over the course of 8 games.
Yeah. And my takeaway is going to be one of the first games to start, one of the first games to wrap up, the one in TD Garden. Me and you specifically, high on this Flames team, think they're going to make the playoffs. Kind of issued an open challenge to them coming out of the break, 4 tough road games, and they go into one of the toughest places to play and kick it off with a win. I think we all picked the Bruins yesterday. We said, you don't go to TD Garden and get 2 points. It's very tough to do. And the Flames took a 1-0 lead less than 5 minutes in, took a 2-0 lead into the first intermission, didn't give up a goal till the third period. Pretty much controlled the game on the scoreboard wire to wire. Very impressive win in Boston for them. Good way to climb up the standings. It's getting a little. The Western Conference has been bunched.
Yeah.
So, but they're right there now. The Blues have 54 points. They're in the final spot. The Flames have 51 points. It's only 3 back. It's a big win for them. And they have the best goal differential of the mosh pit between like St. Louis and Minnesota. They actually are -3 now, which is the best. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's tight. It is tight, and we're going to talk about Minnesota later on in the show. They're playing tonight. If they want to gain any traction, they got to win now. And about that game last night, I'm hearing from a lot of Calgary reporters. Jonathan Huberdeau, man, that was apparently his best game as a Calgary Flame, which is a long time coming. We're talking a season and a half now. They trade Johnny Hockey, or they lose Johnny Hockey, trade Matthew Tkachuk for Jonathan Huberdeau. Dud last year, dud this year. Got 3 points last night, and if they're going to do anything, they need him. Kadri too, but especially Huberdeau. He needs to get cooking here. Got 3 points last night. A lot of people saying Calgary's best game of the year, and like you said, man, like Boston, they're no, I don't want to say cruising to the playoffs, but they're comfortably in first place. They're getting their ducks in a row leading up to the postseason. But still, winning in Boston, coming off a break, that's no easy task. And like you said, they led pillar to post and won comfortably. And as soon as Boston scored, Calgary scored again. Like it wasn't they didn't leave much room for Boston to come back. My takeaway, staying in the province of Alberta, and we got to go here. Edmonton, 16 wins in a row. The shot at the Pittsburgh Penguins record of 17 in a row. Fell short. They lost last night. We all picked Vegas to win. I think in fairness, the longer the streak goes on, the easier it is to kind of call a loss, you know. But that was a phenomenal hockey game last night. And if you're one of those people that believes that sports are scripted, that it's all fake, I mean, last night was a good point in your favor because every single game started at either 7 or 7:30, with Edmonton and Vegas being the only game on after 10 o'clock. But what a phenomenal hockey game. I thought the Oilers, I don't know what you thought. I thought the Oilers deserved to win that game. I thought they were the better team for the most part. Aiden Hill was and continues to be phenomenal. I thought, especially through the first two periods, Vegas kind of sloppy. I thought like they played a good game, but I thought 6 out of 10 times, maybe 7 out of 10 times, Edmonton wins that game. But Aiden Hill was just on fire. And I don't know why it took me this long. This is a complete side note. It's now on my bucket list to go to a game in Vegas. That looks like a time. That looks like a time. But my real takeaway is, and I want to pass this to you, I'm seeing a lot of people, now that the streak is over, a lot of people saying, like looking back on it and saying, most of the wins were against bottom feeders. They didn't really beat too many teams of importance. Maybe we're giving them too much credit for this 16-game winning streak. And I want to know your thoughts. For me, number one, this is the National Hockey League. Any team can win any night. It's the same in any sport, really. They almost lost to Chicago, right? Like they it's like not like they just rolled over these teams. And I mean, I've been pretty vocal about this, even like obviously before the streak, and even now, I still don't know how much I believe in this team as far as a cup contender. But there's no doubt that they are one. Do I think that they'll win the cup? I think they have some holes still. I think their goaltending went on a ridiculous heater. And can that continue for the rest of the year? I don't find it all that likely. But they're still an incredible hockey team. Do you buy into that narrative that now that we look back on the streak, maybe too much credit given to the Oilers over the course of 16 games?
I don't believe it one bit. I think they played, like you said, they played well last night. It's just Vegas has Aiden Hill back, and Aiden Hill's been back, and it's coincided with Vegas playing really good hockey and winning games. They're 3-0 in his 3 starts back from injury. He's been one of the best goalies of the year. So it seems revisionist to me.
Yeah.
The goaltending, like you said, defense and goaltending has been the thing that's held this Edmonton team back for years, and it was phenomenal throughout the stretch. Like you said, it's the National Hockey League. You can win on any given night. You can lose on any given night. Doesn't matter the teams. And I mean, you have to go back to the beginning of the streak. It started with a 6-3 win in Newark, followed by a 4-3 win in the Garden, where they were down 2-0 and then came back and won the game 4-3. 2-0 going into the third or something like that. So they beat 2 good teams to start the streak on the road.
They were down to the Leafs in there too, and then came back
Say,
to the Leafs.
they played the Leafs. They played the Kings, regardless how you feel about them.
Sure.
In December and January, they played the Flyers, are a good team. Calgary and Seattle have been playing well. And Alberta, Battle of Alberta is never easy. So seems a bit revisionist to say, they beat up on some bottom feeders. We see bottom feeders win games in the NHL almost every night. So kudos to them for making it happen 16 times in a row. Kudos to their goaltending and defense for keeping pucks out the net consistently, even with the loss yesterday. They only allowed 3 goals to Vegas. That's a good performance in Vegas. So they're playing well.
Yeah, and I really liked, like, Connor McDavid was visibly angry after that loss last night, and I kind of like that. I feel like a lot of people after a 16-game winning streak, it's like, it's inevitable, and it's like, no, man, like they wanted that win.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned it yesterday, Andre, like Vegas, that's the Stanley Cup champions, man. Like, you're not the champions until someone else is the champion, right? So I feel like it's kind of low-hanging fruit. Like, you lose, the one game you lose is to the Stanley Cup champions. But Vegas, they've just recently started regaining their form from earlier in the year. So yeah, huge credit to Vegas, but also huge credit. And it does suck. Like, if you lose game 13, maybe even game 14, but you're one win away from tying the record, it's like more than likely you're not going to get back to that spot.
For that to be when the break happens too, absolutely brutal.
I know.
And then to come back against a team that's really good and that you're fighting with for a playoff spot, and it's on their home ice, like one of the toughest places to play, like the whole thing just was not in their favor.
Chris Knobloch, the coach, he was saying, like, it's a good spot for a break, like, but I mean, once again, I'm not a professional hockey player, but I feel like when your team's rolling, the last thing you want to do is take it a week and a half off. Like, I feel like that's the last thing you want. All right, let's move on. Well, actually, a little honorable mention. Vancouver, man. We're telling you, Vancouver, excellent win last night. They were losing that game early, came back, won it 3-2. A little spoiler alert for tomorrow. They're in Boston, and they're plus money again. And there's some good Vancouver games this week, man. Playing Carolina last night, playing Boston tomorrow. That team, the more I watch them play, dude, like, I was thinking about this watching the game last night. Like, you add Lindholm, and we talked about this. I felt like both with Winnipeg and Vancouver, not really something you want to mess with. Like, just kind of let them do their thing and kind of see what happens. But the more I think about it, Lindholm getting 2 goals and Kuzmenko for Calgary getting a goal, both players getting the first goal of the game for their new teams. Lindholm is a player that you can move up and down your lineup. He can be first line, he can be third line, he can be on the wing, he can be center. Monahan with the Jets did not go as planned last night. To say that I'm worried about the Jets like missing the playoffs is obviously not the case. But they're down 4 in a row now, and I'm interested to see like how that team rebounds. But Vancouver obviously not missing a step coming off the break.
Yeah. Vancouver's so stacked. I agree with you that they didn't really need to tweak anything, but Lindholm stepped right in and fit right in. So I guess that worked. I think Winnipeg needed a little bit of a shakeup, especially since they lost 3 in a row head into the break. Scoring was already an issue. Special teams were already an issue. Monahan didn't really add anything yesterday, but it's one game against the Pittsburgh team that, Pittsburgh's another place that's tough, and they have a good goal. They have a good goalie. They have a good defense. They're structured. I don't think the Jets play fast enough to really stress them. So,
yeah, and Pittsburgh's a desperate team right now. Like they need points and they need them fast. All right, let's move on to bad beats. Now we swept our parlay, so not too many bad beats to speak of. I have my own little personal bad beat. So I had a bunch of bets tied to the Jets, and it was clear they're not winning that game. So you do what you got to do, and you make a new bet. Vancouver was tied with Calgary at the time. Vancouver was still plus money to win. Philadelphia was tied with Florida, and I really felt like they were playing well enough to win that game, which they did. So I parlayed those two with Vegas. Vegas won, as we know. But before that game started, the other 2 games were finished. I had a pretty nice payout if Vegas won. I had a very favorable cash out. So I cashed it out, put it on Vegas, and Marchessault to get 2 shots. I didn't get greedy, just 2. And he got 1. And it was like, man, I had it. And I guess I did get a little greedy. So that was a bad beat. Where Marchessault, I was like, should I do 3 shots? Like, nah, 2 shots. That's pretty. It was like minus like 3 something for him to get 2 shots. So yeah, that was a bit of a tough bad beat, but can't complain too much because after all, we did hit our best bet parlay. What about you, Andre? Any bad beats last night or what?
Well, you know about that Avalanche comeback, down 3-1, like halfway through the third. Suddenly they tie it up. Obviously I picked the Avalanche to win. So I was like, oh boy, they're doing it again. Like we're golden. And then the Jets put them away. Credit to the Jets, not the Jets, the Devils put them away. Credit to them for keeping their head screwed on, getting the next goal. And then obviously they punctuated with an empty net with 2 seconds left. But Avs come back to teaser. They do it all the time. So I was like, here we go again. I knew I could count on them, and then I couldn't. Shout out an honorable mention to the Stars for taking a 1-0 lead, like 3 minutes into the game, and then scoring one more time for the rest of the game and not covering the puck line. That kind of sucked.
Yeah. And that was an interesting game too, because the Sabres actually played really well, and Ottinger kind of saved that game for the Stars. Which, yeah. So, but the Stars are in Toronto tonight. We're going to talk about it. And I feel like the Stars didn't play overly well last night. Will be interesting to see what they have tonight. It's funny you're talking about Colorado Jersey because I wasn't watching that game, but I get all the goal notifications coming to my phone. So I see that the Devils are up 3-1, and I'm on FanDuel kind of looking through the odds, go to DraftKings, see the odds or whatever. And with, I think like, I can't remember what it was. Sometime in the third period, Colorado's down 3-1, and they're plus 900 to win it. I didn't bet on it or anything like that. But I'm like, man, plus 900. This game's pretty much done or whatever. All of a sudden, I see it's 3-3. And I wasn't paying attention. I find out the Devils won from texting with John. And to see that the Devils won that in regulation, I was surprised. I thought for sure that game was going to overtime, but to see the Devils, and that kind of leads to a different conversation that we can have more fully another day, I guess. But the Met is having a week this week, man. Especially the team, except for Washington. But Philadelphia winning. Devils winning, the Islanders winning, the Rangers won, but more specifically, those teams fighting for a spot. Pittsburgh won, so all the teams kind of fighting for that third last spot and the wild card spots, all winning so far this week. And of course, Washington kind of. I mean, Ovi scored, but beyond that, not much to write home about last night.
Yeah, there's never a boring day in the Met. That's been a saying for quite a while. It's usually crowded, packed, annoyingly competitive. But the Canadians, big one for them over Washington, kind of kept themselves alive too. Still have stacked odds, but very sneaky deficit in the standings that's overcomable.
I mean, if Montreal makes it into the playoffs, man, I don't know if it says more about Montreal or the teams that are fighting for that wild card spot.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Montreal, but you would assume that Toronto or Tampa Bay, because one of those two teams will be in the top three. So you assume Toronto or Tampa Bay is in that one wild card spot. So if Montreal wins, is it, oh, Montreal, like, dope? Or is it Detroit, Pittsburgh, like the Islanders? Like, what are you guys doing?
It's definitely more of a Detroit, Pittsburgh, Jersey.
Yeah.
Those three in particular just falling apart. I mean, they're only 4 points back of the Isles, same number of games played. That's very, the way the Islanders have been playing, that's very overcomable. They're 1 point back of Washington, and their goal differential is only 2 off of Washington's. So we saw what they did to the Capitals last night. Okay,
Yep.
One weird fun fact. You know the Capitals logo does not have a single capital letter.
I did not know that.
It's so weird.
That's true.
Yeah.
That has to be like on purpose.
I hate it. It doesn't make sense. You're the Capitals. Like, it should be all caps. I don't know. Sorry, that just crossed my head when we talked about them.
Well, speaking of the Met, and even speaking of Tampa Bay, let's dive in to the 3 games on tap for tonight, starting with your boys in blue. Wow, I have soccer odds on my screen for some reason. All right, let's get focused. Back to business. Tampa Bay in New York, minus 102 for the Lightning. Rangers favored at home, minus 118. Now, listen, we love DraftKings. All these odds are DraftKings, but they don't sponsor us yet. So I'm just going to say it. If you like Tampa Bay tonight, they're plus 100 on FanDuel right now. So if you think they're going to win, I'm not saying I do, Andre. I'm not saying I do. But if you do, the viewer, plus 100 on FanDuel. Rangers, minus 118. Puck line for Tampa Bay, plus 1.5 is minus 250. Minus 1.5 for the Rangers is plus 205. Now I will say on FanDuel is plus 190. So on DraftKings is plus 205. So if you like the Rangers minus 1.5, then go to DraftKings plus 205. The over is 6.5 at minus 105. The under is minus 118. Andre, as always, man, we'll start with you. What do you see in this game tonight? And if John was here, I would make a wager with him, not friendly, like a legit wager that you already have the Rangers puck line bet locked and loaded?
I actually don't. I have the Rangers money line in a parlay though.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, reasonable. The other night I actually didn't bet the Rangers puck line. My parlay was the Rangers money line, the over in a Panarin goal, which obviously 2-1 game, the under very easily won. What I see in this game is similar to the Edmonton Oilers. The Tampa Bay Lightning are not getting any favors from the All-Star break or the schedule. They were rolling going into the break. They won
Yep.
8 of their last 9. The one loss was a rare night where their offense had nothing. It was a 2-1 loss in Detroit. They followed that up with 3 straight 6-3 wins. They had a 7-goal game on the 18th. They had a 5-goal game on the 13th. They were rolling. The offense has never been the issue. They have the best power play in the league, top 5 scoring team. It is the defense and Andrei Vasilevsky getting into form, getting in a rhythm. The reason you really can't count this team out down the stretch and come playoff time, they were playing so well. And now a team that's worse on the road and does not have the luxury of that first post All-Star game, All-Star break game yet, like the Rangers, is headed to a hostile environment in the Garden against a team that I'm sure remembers the Eastern Conference Finals from 2 years ago and will want payback for it. A team that just held the Avalanche to 1 goal on their home ice. Jonathan Quick is getting the start again. I think Lavalette is taking the points he needs to get over trying to get Shesterkin back into form at this point, which is weird to say because Shesterkin was an all-star. But
yeah,
Rangers defense played well. Rangers are in win mode, I think, with the Quick starting move. I think that's evident, especially since the Canes lost last night. They can get that lead back up to 6 points with a win. Garden's favorable for them. You never know coming out of the break what a team's going to look like, but I'm assuming a little bit of rust for the Lightning, especially offensively. And the Rangers get a lead with the way Jonathan Quick is playing. I think they hold on to it. So I like a low-scoring game. I like another game that feels like a playoff game, like that type of energy, that type of intensity. And I think the Rangers are going to come out on top.
Yeah, that is fascinating to me. I heard that too, Jonathan Quick getting the start tonight, and I heard somebody to say that like Shesterkin has lost the starting job. I wouldn't go that far. Maybe you would. I don't know if I go that far. Yeah,
it's complicated.
it's called. I think is just playing well right now. And like you said, like they need the wins. He just had a terrific game the other night. What I'm interested to see is what you said, Vasilevsky, 4-1 in his last 5, slightly above 900 save percentage, but I believe a 284 goals against over that 5-game stretch. Same with the save percentage. Starting to round into form. The total was really tricky for me. I think the Rangers win this game as well. It's just it's a weird feeling. I know Quick's played well. It's just weird to be relying on Quick right now. Like not where you thought you'd be in February if you're the Rangers or a Rangers fan. What I will say, one reason why the under does scare me a little bit, when the Rangers win, and especially Monday night, it's been unders recently. The last 3 games going into the break for the Lightning, all 6-3 and all wins. So I'm interested to see how that translates into their first game back from the break. We'll say Kucherov, 10 points last 5 games. He has 85 points on the season, 42 of those away. So almost split exactly 50-50 home and away. Interested to see where that goes. Rangers 2-game winning streak, 9-3 in goals in those 2 games, 7 of them, of course, being in 1 game. Panarin 4 goals in his last 5, 3 goals this year against Tampa Bay. So a little sprinkle on Panarin. I'm never mad at that.
Forgot about that. Sorry.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I like a Panarin goal. I mean, he's been scoring lately, and he scores against Tampa Bay, so give it to me. I do like the Rangers to win this game. Money line, no need to get greedy with the puck line. I'm not touching that total, though. I know you said under, but I think you can agree, man. This game could be 5-4, or it could be 2-0 or 2-1. Like, seems kind of volatile to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
All right. Moving to my city, Toronto, home against Dallas. As we said, Dallas played last night. Toronto minus 130 at home. Tough loss at home to the Islanders the other night. Played well enough to win. As Keith said, did enough to win, just enough to lose. We'll see how they bounce back tonight. Dallas plus 110 on the road. Plus 1.5 on the Dallas puck line is minus 205. Minus 1.5 for the Leafs puck line is plus 170. The over 6.5 at minus 118. And the under is minus 102. So a fun fact. Before I forget, sorry, just to go back real quick to the Rangers Tampa Bay game. I don't know if they have this in the States where you are obviously across borders, if you will. But here, DraftKings has a boost for a goal in the first 10 minutes of the Rangers Lightning game. It was minus 160. With the boost, it is plus 115. So I think that's a fun boost. You guys have that there as well? Yeah, I like that boost. And sprinkle a bit on that. Why not? Double your money for the rest of the night. All right, moving back to Toronto. Also on DraftKings for the Leaf game tonight, there is a 33% boost on a same game parlay for the Leafs game, and I'll get into what I have for that later on. This is the deal. Dallas 4-game winning streak. Underwhelming win last night, to say the least. Ottinger played last night. I have not seen, I believe, Wedgwood in the net tonight. I don't think Ottinger is starting. And I think that does benefit the Leafs, although Wedgwood hasn't been like awful. He's been a pretty reliable backup for Dallas this year. You're hoping Dallas, tired from last night, hard-fought game. You think that the Leafs can make do on that. I personally, and I think it recently moved to minus 102 or minus 105. It was plus 115 early in the day. I like the 60-minute money line for the Leafs. I think Monday night was a very good game by them, like 95%. But that other 5% left some pretty disparaging comments from the head coach calling their play peewee. And I think that they step up and show out tonight. The puck line's tempting to me. However, Samsonov is back in net again tonight. Samsonov, listen, since he's come back, he's played very well. I'm a bit surprised Martin Jones is not back in the net tonight. Samsonov like hated his life like a month ago, and now he's playing really well. But between the ears, has been very volatile for a lot of his career. I'm getting a bit worried that we're already overworking him. having him start again tonight, and I'm a little bit nervous about that when it comes to the puck line. I feel like if the Leafs win this game, they're going to win it by 1 goal. And I don't mind the 60-minute money line here. Minus 130 isn't crazy expected, but you're getting a bit better odds on the 60-minute line. And I do like it. Again, a bit nervous since the Leafs love going to overtime. But I like the Leafs on the 60-minute money line at, I believe it's minus 105 now. I only thing a little bit concerning, the Leafs power or penalty kill rather has been a problem for a lot of the year, and the Stars do have a top half of the league power play. But besides that, tough game last night in Buffalo, and I think the Leafs can get the job done here tonight. Um, and and like I said, the coach was not happy after that game on Monday, and I think that they step up and show out. Um, I will say, like I said, 33% boost on DraftKings for a Maple Leafs parlay. I like Toronto over 2.5 goals, Nylander over 4.5 shots, and a Nylander power play point. Was plus 425 with the boost is plus 565. So I like that a little same game parlay. Take away the result, no win or loss, nothing like that. Just over 2.5 goals, Nylander over 4.5 shots, and a power play point for Nylander as well. All right, Andre, what do you see in this game?
Yeah, I think even though they lost, I think Toronto played fine on Monday. Sometimes you just don't win, you know? And I think they're very fortunate in this game that they're ducking Jake Ottinger. I think they're very fortunate they're getting a team on the second half of a back-to-back, both on the road. I know Buffalo's not too far from Toronto, but it's still travel, still crossing the border. They did still play a game last night. They played a very sloppy defensive game. They gave up like 48 shots, I think.
Yep.
So you do that against the Maple Leafs, you can kiss it goodnight. You're not going to give that offense that many shots and win 90% of the time. I, like you, like the Leafs 60-minute line. I like it a little more than the puck line in this one because Dallas still has talent. I was actually looking at props, and Scott Wedgwood giving up over 3.5 goals is plus 130.
Ooh.
I know Wedgwood is a good goalie. Like, I'm not gonna. He's done a fine job as a backup. He's filled in for Ottinger nicely. But if they're giving up 48 shots, I'm gonna feel very confident in the Leafs scoring 4 goals. It's a nasty offense. Even if they don't, even the Leafs only get like 33, 35, somewhere around there, I still see 4 of those hitting the back of the net. There was a 3-start stretch in the beginning of January. We gave up 4, 5, and 4. That was against the Canadiens, Avalanche, Predators. Nothing to really write home about. Last start against the Islanders, he gave up 3 goals on 28 shots. I think the Maple Leafs offense is, besides the Avalanche, I think the Maple Leafs offense is better than all the teams I just listed. I think they're going to get the shots because Dallas is tired, and Dallas did just play a sloppy game in Buffalo. It's not really telling. They've had stretches this season where they've given up a ton of shots in games, like in a row. I was just looking at Ottinger and Wedgwood's like numbers for the year, and then just like few game stretches where it's like 38, 34. There's a 49, 33, 33 in there. Ridiculous. Like, it just happens to them. So I like over 3.5 for Wedgwood. And if you don't think the Stars are going to give up as many shots, they're going to tighten it up, then under 28.5 saves for Wedgwood. Because I still think Toronto's going to beat them. It's a nasty offense.
Absolutely love it. Look at this, eh? I was hesitant on Monday. Not even hesitant. I actually did pick the Islanders to win that game, if you remember. But I think the Leafs can win this game tonight, man. And more importantly, they have to win this game tonight. Like I said the other day, man. I think was it yesterday that I said this? they need to watch themselves, man. Like the rest of the East is coming. Like Tampa Bay is playing better. Detroit's playing very well. We got Pittsburgh cooking. Like the Island, like the playoffs are not some foregone conclusion for the Leafs anymore. Like they need to start winning games. And like I don't know, both of us said, I know Dallas is a good team. But like you said, tough game last night. I love those stats about giving up shots. And you expect if they played sloppy the night before on a back-to-back, it's tough to see that defensive performance getting any better. All right, moving on to Chicago. Talking about another team, not Chicago, but the Wild that need to get rolling. Chicago plus 170 at home. That's a pretty low number for yeah, for the Blackhawks recently. Minus 205 for the Wild on the road. Over 5.5 is minus 115. The under is minus 105. Minus 1.5 for the Wild is plus 130. And plus 1.5 for the Blackhawks is minus 155. What do you see in this game tonight? Wild Blackhawks.
Yeah. Plus 130 to beat the Blackhawks by multiple goals is beautiful. I know Peter Mrazek stands on his head, especially at home, and tries to will his team to victory. But they've lost to the Wild 10 times in a row now. 7 of those were by multiple goals, including December 3rd. They lost 4-1. In Minnesota, and Chicago's offense without Bedard has been
Nothing.
stinky, to say the least. Shut out in 4 of their last 6 games. They had the 2-goal game in Seattle, the 4-goal game against the Islanders, which was their only win against the Islanders. So they've been awful. The 4 games before that, 2 against the Sharks, 1 against the Stars, 1 against Winnipeg, 1 against Edmonton. It's a long stretch of not scoring multiple goals, and the Wild are healthier. The Wilds are much better at scoring. I know their last 2 games before the break, they only scored 2 goals in each of those, but before that, they had a 5, a 6, a 3, and a 5. So Minnesota can score, especially when they're healthy like this, especially against a bad team that they're better than. This is a Minnesota team that needs points, needs to climb the standings. These aren't 2 that they can afford to let slip away. Plus 130 is beautiful in this game. So give me Minnesota minus 1.5 all the way. And give me the under. I know it's 5.5, but you can't trust Chicago to score once, let alone 2 or 3 times. So
no,
it really helps you out there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I don't even think the minus 1.5, I don't even think that's like really propping like the Wild up as much as it's just saying like Chicago just can't score. Like, you know, if the Wild score 2-3 goals, they're probably going to win by two, right? So I like the Wild minus 1.5 as well. I took a peek at the 60-minute money line, but that's minus 140. At least it was about an hour ago. So I like the Wild minus 1.5 as well. Kaprizov back healthy. I like the way this team's been rolling. Now, the one stat that I really like to look at, when a team wins, what's their scoring like? And the last 4 wins for the Wild have all been 5+ goals, like you alluded to. So I like that's what makes me a little bit nervous with the total. I'm pretty shy on the totals all around today. I feel like all 3 of these games could go either way as far as the totals go, but I really do like Minnesota minus 1.5. I want to dabble at the minus 2.5 territory, but we'll leave that to John to be reckless when he. But speaking of John, let's go to our best bets brought to you by First Round Collectibles. With the promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling. You get it 10% off with the promo code Sports Addict. FirstRoundCollectibles.com. That's the number one, STRoundCollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. Now, the reason why I said, speaking of John couldn't be here, but the guy's always working. Sent us his best bet. Leafs Stars over 6.5. I had it in front of me. Minus 118 over 6.5. Dallas and Toronto. Andre, what is your best bet for the 3 games tonight?
I feel like I'm gonna step on toes a little bit here, and I think you know where I'm going with this one. Last game we just did, Minnesota minus 1.5. To me, at plus 130, you're over doubling your money. It just seems like an absolute lock to happen. The Blackhawks can't score, and if you're not going to score on the Wild, you're not going to beat them, because the Wild, even on the worst days, they can usually find the back of the net 2 or 3 times. 2-0, that's enough to win. It's enough to beat the puck line. So I like Minnesota minus 1.5 here. Which, by the way, we didn't mention it. The Blackhawks, I think, are now the lowest scoring offense in the NHL. I think they passed the Sharks, or if they're tied with them. So it's been rough.
It's tough without Bedard, man. And shout out to Chicago. The rumor is that tonight they're going to announce a Winter Classic game at Wrigley Field next year. That's the rumor.
I forgot to peddle a hunch. I'll let you do your best bet first.
All right.
I have another hunch about special games. So
love it. So my best bet, I want to touch all 3 games, but to be honest with you, that Rangers game, I know you're confident in your boys, and I picked the Rangers too. I do think that game, the Lightning were playing really good going into the break, and I think that they're an unknown going into tonight. I do expect the Rangers to win, but I'm not confident enough to make it a best bet. But for whatever reason, I don't like it. It makes me nervous, but I'm confident in the Leafs tonight. And it feels weird. It doesn't feel right being confident with my team, because they break my heart on a weekly basis. 60-minute line, minus 105. Which, now that I think about it, I don't know if you can do that with the same game parlay, can you?
Yeah, they're not letting me. But
all right.
We'll sub for now. We'll sub in for now. It's fine.
Let's just,
because minus 130 is still a good money line.
Yeah, let's just do the money line. Minus 130, Maple Leafs, minus 130 money line. I don't trust the puck line just because, like I said, Samsonov going again tonight. Dallas can score. They only put 2 goals up last night. And this team, whenever Dallas plays, for the most part, the total goes over and they score. So I can count on at least the Leafs money line. I'm not going to get too crazy with the puck line. Minus 130 for the money line.
Cool. I really like that one too. So put that, the Leafs money line parlayed with the over 6.5 in that game is plus 196. And then you add the Minnesota Wild plus or minus 1.5 at plus 130. You got a 580 parlay. So it's good stuff.
Let's go. Like I said, we swept last night. Back to back, man. Monday was just a warm up. We got back into the groove last night. And I'm feeling good about this one tonight. All right. What do you got for me? Another tidbit.
Yeah. So obviously, well, I guess not obviously, you're in Canada, so you wouldn't know. The 2 nationally televised NHL games for today are Rangers Lightning, Blackhawks Wild. Blackhawks just got the Winter Classic against the Blues, probably going to be in Wrigley. I hope it's Wrigley and not the Cell or whatever they call the White Sox.
You would
Stadium
think
now.
it would be Wrigley. You would
Yeah.
think.
Because they're closing Soldier Field, or they're trying to move out of Soldier Field, so it would have to be Wrigley, you would think. The Rangers are playing in the Stadium Series this year. They're one of the 4 teams in the 2 games. They're playing the Lightning tonight, a team that's had a lot of success lately, never played an outdoor game. Neither have the Florida Panthers, who won the East last year. They said, I'm pretty sure they said they were going to announce next year's Stadium Series tonight. A lot of eyeballs on the Lightning. Florida's getting an outdoor hockey game next year. That's my hunch. That's my conspiracy. They're going to announce the Stadium Series for 2025 in the Sunshine State, which is weird as hell. But I think Panthers Lightning is going to be the Stadium Series next year. I don't know how that's going to work.
That is a scientific feat.
Yeah.
Did they do one in California? I feel like they did, didn't they?
They did
Where?
Lake Tahoe,
Right.
which is, I think it's the border of Cali and Nevada. I think it's like NorCal-ish.
I think
And
you're
the ice
right.
didn't stick. They had to like keep pausing it because it was like a really sunny day.
It's California. That's what I'm saying. Excuse me. I mean, it's cool if you can pull it off, but yeah, that's a scientific wonder. If I ever saw one.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the Lightning have played an outdoor game, but Florida's never hosted one, and the Florida Panthers have never played in one. That's why I think it's going to be Lightning Panthers. To clarify,
And the NHL loves to do things that we say they can't do. Outdoor game in Cali, Arizona, lasting 30 years.
Yeah.
Now, an outdoor game in Florida. You say we can't do it? Hold my beer, fans. Watch this.
What a weird league.
Oh, what's that?
I said, what a weird league.
So frustrating. Although I will say, very, very happy to see them finally getting best on best in the international scene again. Like, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, the fact that Connor McDavid has never played for Team Canada outside of the juniors and like the World Championship, but like on a like major international level is just ridiculous. Austin Matthews, like all those guys have never put on their country's jerseys at the Olympic level. Next year will be the 4-team tournament, international, and then going to the Olympics for the next 2 Olympics. So finally get some international play. Finally, the NHL not making me mad at them. Gary Bettman does something right. Finally. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. John, hope you're doing well. We'll see you tomorrow. Our fans, our watch viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck on your bets tonight. Bet safe, of course. Make sure you ride a parlay going for 2 in a row. I'll see you all tomorrow, 5 p.m. See you then.